Hello, this is what we are making, a simple door frame using pressure treated 4x2 sawn softwood. When we cut these, we will make a point of retaining the treated ends as the treatment goes further up into the end grain. Now we need to mark the length, so we need the door height plus a bit for going into the ground or into the whatever's on the bottom, plus the thickness of the head. Square that all round. And cut it. Oh, I think we'll turn that round. That's better. Now we'll put them together just to make sure that they're both the same length. Now mark for the thickness of the head. Now we mark the shoulders. We'll square them right across, but being careful not to mark right across the face, because we don't want to, for a moment of inattention, you're cutting the shoulders and then you end up cutting the 2 inches off the whole of the end of the bit of timber, otherwise it'd be ruined, wouldn't it? So we're being careful not to mark right across. Just mark the shoulders, leaving the tenon clear. Okay, ready to go. If you haven't got a mortise gauge, that doesn't matter. But set it to the thickness of a chisel, but I'll make it just slightly wider than a chisel. And then what we're going to do is we're going to set it up to the middle of there, like that. So, doing it round. Oh my goodness me, that's already spot on, but it would not normally be, would it? And then what we're going to do is that. Turn it round. If you don't have a mortise chisel, which if you're DIY you probably won't, then just measure it. Mark it. I'm just using my fingers to mark it. It hasn't got to be that accurate. You know, and make the tenon whatever you want. It can be a third if you want. If not, it could be an inch. Whatever. Remember, you need a chisel that's going to be the size of the mortise hole that's going to go into. Twiddle do, twaddle it. Pop. And give it a little clean off if you want. That's them two done. So next, we want the size of the door that we want. And we're going to go for a 2'6" door. So that'd be 2'6", which is 30 inches. And then 2 thicknesses of so, because that's the frame, and square that across. Now, your pencil then, and we're going to cut that. Cut that off. Cut that off there. There we go. And that's the head. And that's the new spare that. So now it's time to cut the mortises. Well, they're not actually true mortises, but this is a DIY frame, and what I'm going to do next will work fine for what we want. So just mark in from both ends the thickness of the frame on the head, and the remaining bit between the two, of course, is the size of the door. Square it across. Well, when I say square it across, we're only going to mark actually where the mortise hole is, but we need to square it round so we get it the same place on both sides. But we don't actually make lines, we just put little marks for the same reason. We don't want to be tempted to cut it off, and you don't want the unsightly lines on your finished frame, do you? Now for those of you that don't have a mortise gauge, you can just lay the frame on to mark the tenon. But when you do this, remember which side of the line you're going to cut, so as you don't make the tenon too slack. And if you've got a mortise gauge, of course, you use your mortise gauge. And we're interested in keeping these a little bit more accurate, so I'm going to saw down these. Next thing is, we've got to get that out of there, haven't we? This is when you want a sharp chisel. From the end. I think we might want a different angle on that, don't you? There we are, that's better, isn't it? And cut that annoying wind out. So we just cut down. You do need a sharp chisel. Maybe that should be another video I should do. Sharpening chisels. There we go, just chop it down. Whatever it goes with one hit with a mallet, and then coming from the end, just a little bit at a time, like 1/4 inch at a time or so, or a couple of millimeters at a time. Until you feel that it's going to pull away. And away it goes. There we go. And if you're really up, you're really skilled, you'll fit with your glove. How's that? On there like so. How's that, eh? I'm happy with that. And go again. Okay, so we've got it that far, we've got it tight up, and all we want then is a 4-inch nail straight through there. And then the same the other end. Now it's time to parallel and square the frame. So we mark the width of the frame onto a spreader batten. It needs to be marked fairly accurately too. Remember that the door's got to fit, and measure down anything you like. It could be, you know, just sort of 6 inches off the floor or whatever, as long as it's fixed in exactly the same place. Because what we want now is an accurate square. You may not have an accurate square if you haven't measured down from the top to the batten exactly the same. Then you need a stick, a squaring stick, so any bit of batten to do with a nail in it, so that the nail will go into the corner of the frame. I've just put a level across there to make it up the same as the batten that I'm going to use for holding it square. And then you make a mark where the two come together, like so, and then transfer that batten across to the other side and see what the difference is. And if you're really lucky, and because your cuttings have all been squared anyway, it won't be far out. And then you mark it, and then you put another mark in the middle of those two marks, and you're going to now push that to square it up. So you're pushing it up to that middle mark, and then that is dead square. Now check the other side just to be sure, and now we've got to hold it square, and that's where your little brace comes in. And I use 60mm roofing nails, but a 2-inch wire nail, something with a head on it, because you're going to knock that batten off later. Whack it in. Now that should be holding that square. But just to be sure, we'll check it. That's good. So there we go. And there we go. One frame made, ready to be used, and braced square. That's ready to go in the yard. Wonderful program.